first question, what does this mean to now have surveillance video showing this, not suspect, but subject outside Nancy Guthrie's home?
This is absolute gold from an investigation standpoint. Every single frame, every single pixel provides clues to law enforcement as to who the person could possibly be and how he went about perpetrating the crime.
What in this video really stands out to you now that you've kind of seen it? Walk us through really those standout moments to you.
So what stands out to me is the obvious right now. So what we see is someone that is geared up to commit a crime. Mm-hmm. This isn't someone that happened to be walking by and thought this might be a good opportunity to break into a house in the middle of the night.
Right.
This person came to prepared to commit a crime. They are gloved, they're masked, they've got a backpack which probably contains what we call a restraint kit, which typically contains duct tape, zip ties, rope, and things like that to subdue and restrain their victim. Another thing that comes to my mind is this person probably was a home invader. This is very different from a burglar. A burglar will go in and break into a home when he knows or he believes that no one is going to be home. A home invader breaks into a home knowing that he is at some point going to encounter the people inside that home, and those are the most dangerous types of people, in this type of context, because they know that something can potentially go wrong if the homeowner gets access to a firearm or something to defend themselves with. So they are typically prepared to do harm to those people. I think, just based upon this individual's actions, if you notice in this first video, he goes up to the door, he notices that there's a doorbell camera. So now he's trying to block the lens of the camera. So now he's thinking, what can I do to cover that lens? So he starts looking around on the floor. He goes over to the bushes or the entrance of the home, grabs some grass that he tears off from the floor, wads it up, and then comes back to the doorbell. And as you see in video number 2, he's trying to figure out how he can use that brush that he just got to cover the camera lens, and it's not successful.
You would think that he would have duct tape in there.
You would think he would have duct tape or something that he would have thought in advance to do that. But what is also very telling from this video is, even though he's bumbling, and I say he's bumbling because he's literally fumbling trying to figure out, how do I cover this camera lens? He didn't anticipate that in advance. But even when he's bumbling, his movements are very calm. He's not rushing around trying to figure out what to do. He's very calm. He looks around. He knows he has all the time in the world, and that is what bothers me. Is this man knew that he had all the time in the world, and he wasn't worried about the authorities or a neighbor showing up.
Diving into that notion more, do you think he's still a familiar person with the family, or do you think he thought this out?
The more that I look at this case and the more that the facts come out, it is feeling more and more to me like this was a home invasion. I don't believe that it was originally intended to be an abduction. I think it might have been a home invasion gone wrong, and then the man spent that much time, which is the other huge red flag, is spending 41 minutes at a crime scene is absolutely unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. So it should have taken no more than 5 minutes maximum to breach the door, locate the victim, subdue an 84-year-old woman, and extract her from the home. That should have been, if this was a true abduction, that is the 1, 2, 3. You get in the house, you grab the victim, you leave as quickly as possible.
Right.
You don't spend 41 minutes inside the crime scene. So what you have to ask yourself is, what happened after that 5 minutes? Every second after that first initial 5 minutes, what was he doing inside that house? Was he looking for jewelry? Was he looking for things of value? Was he covering up forensic evidence? That is something that is very, very troubling to me.
Deep diving this video even more, is there anything else that stands out to you? Obviously, you know, this is appearing to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
He's Caucasian. Why is this video so important to identifying, the FBI is calling him right now a subject,
Mm-hmm.
not a suspect,
Right.
but could this lead to more answers as to who did it?
Absolutely. So if you look at the still, with technology that we have, we can obtain biometric data from every single aspect of this picture right here. So using the bricks, because each brick is a certain size, and if you can determine the camera angle that the video or the picture was taken at, you can extrapolate his exact height, you can estimate his weight, and through facial recognition and through biometrics, you can determine his facial geometry, especially when he's looking straight at the camera. You can see the video of him looking at the camera.
There's a moment right there in this video. Yeah. Is that a light in his mask as
Yes,
well?
that is a light in his mouth that he's using to illuminate.
Yeah.
So if you look at right here, he's got a light in his mouth that he's using so that he can be hands-free. And he can use his hands to try and figure out how to use that grass to cover the lens. But right here, you can clearly see his face. You see that he is a Caucasian. He looks to be male, especially from his size and body structure. And if you see his face, and there's another point in the video where you can see a perfect outline of his face. Using special software, they can identify data points on that face to enable them to determine the shape of his head, even though it's covered with a mask. They have software that will enable them to remove the mask.
Wow.
Right? And see the outline and the structure of his skull. They can measure and create data points between his eyes, between the two pupils, the distance from the pupil to the nose, the distance from the nose to the chin. All those data points create an image that can be utilized by law enforcement to compare to a suspect. So once they find a suspect, they can say, well, how far apart are the eyes on our suspect in comparison to the person on the video? Are they farther, are they closer, or is this a dead match? How far is the nose from the tip of the nose to the chin? Those things in themselves provide biometrics and identifying features that will help identify possibly the perpetrator.
Deep diving that a little bit more, is that AI technology? Does any police department have that technology, or is that special for the FBI?
I wouldn't say
CSI?
that every police department has access to that technology, but the FBI definitely has access to that technology and they utilize it.
Is it AI?
And I can guarantee you that it's enhanced by AI now.
Gotcha.
AI is the latest innovation in that type of technology because AI will help you rebuild and create data that doesn't exist.
Wow. So, I mean,
It helps fill in the blanks.
so taking a step back, looking at all the new information that now has been publicly released by Kash Patel and the FBI, I mean, where do we stand now in the opportunity and the hope for some answers?
I think that this completely turns the table on the perpetrator. I think before, when Kash Patel, or should I say law enforcement, announced that there was no video, I personally feel, and I felt from the very beginning that there was video and they didn't want the perpetrator to know that, or the public to know at that point. I can guarantee you that the FBI has had these images in this video for a couple days now. They've been analyzing every single frame over and over and over, trying to see what they can glean from the video. But what this now does is it solidifies the nature and the horrific nature of this crime to the public. People may have been a little incredulous before, but I think this now strikes home and it it helps put this into perspective, the kind of person that we're dealing with, and the kind of person that 84-year-old grandmother had to deal with, and is probably might still be dealing with. And hopefully it'll motivate the public to come forward and say, if they know who it is. It could be your neighbor, it could be your boyfriend, it could be your coworker, it could be your husband.
Yeah. A couple questions out of that. I think it was the sheriff's office that said there was no video, or it was overwritten that they couldn't access it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are speculating, was that a failure from local law enforcement? What do you have to glean from that? It's not that law enforcement lied, but why did they say one thing and now they're saying, oh, there is video out there, there is evidence out there?
Because the typical police or sheriff's department doesn't have access to the technology that is required to extract video that has either been deleted or is residual data in the memory that is not on a server or a DVR or the cloud.
Gotcha.
From what I understand and from reports that I've seen, the FBI using technology and working with the vendor, the creator of those cameras, I think these are Nest cameras, they worked with the FBI to help them extract the data that normally would not be available to anybody.
Oh, wow. So this is really showcasing the different resources that the FBI has.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Wow.
As far as technology, the FBI is the entity that you want investigating this crime. If this was just being investigated by the local sheriff's department, the chance of it getting resolved is not very high. And I don't want to say, that's not to say anything bad about the sheriff's department, but their resources are limited. And I don't think as much time, effort, and energy would have been put into this investigation had it not been such a high-profile case. The fact that the FBI got involved and now this is being investigated by a federal agency using all their manpower and all their resources changes everything in this investigation.
Wow. What does it say for the FBI to finally release this publicly?
The FBI is at a point in their investigation where they have probably gleaned as much information from the video and the in the field investigation that they are able to do so far, and now they're asking for the public's help to kind of push it over the finish line. They want to be able to come up with a list of suspects that they can compare to what they have in their hands now.
Okay, so now it's really in the public's hands.
Absolutely. This case is going to be solved by a mistake. This is going to be a human error made by this man that he thought he had covered. He's either going to throw something away, he either wore that outfit before, someone's going to recognize that backpack, someone's going to recognize those gloves, someone's going to recognize those shoes as belonging to their friend or their neighbor or their cousin. This is going to be solved by human element. There's a lot of technology that's being deployed, and I can guarantee you there's a lot of technology that is being utilized right now that the results have not come out yet, but they're analyzing tower data, cellular data, geolocation technology. I can guarantee you they're looking into flock cameras, and now human intelligence. Today they were going door to door in that neighborhood, knocking on doors, asking people for God only knows what. And I believe that they were asking, do you recognize this individual? Wanting to know maybe if that body style, that structure, that jacket looks like something that was worn by your pool man, your gardener, your next door neighbor's gardener. Do you recognize this person? And they're hoping that they knock on the door of the one person that says, oh yeah, absolutely, that's my groundskeeper wears that exact jacket, or I saw my pool guy with that exact backpack. And those are the kind of things that they're looking for, that they can pursue to try and crack this case.
Yeah, a couple more questions. Now that all of this is out there, in your opinion, what's the probability that they could catch this guy?
I think the probability is high. I believe that this person's going to be caught. It's not a matter of if, it's going to be a matter of when. but it's going to come down to human intelligence. It's going to be a mistake that he makes, or it's going to be someone that knows him that recognizes that person as someone that they know, and is going to call it in. That's my belief.
And then also, there was one more question I had on to my time. Sorry. This was an important one.
Let me take a quick pause. I'm going to do something very quickly. I'm
Okay.
running a little bit low while you get your question done. I can do
Sorry.
one quick.
It fleeted away.
And as soon as I leave, you'll remember it.
I know, right? I think it was along the lines of the suspect. It's okay.
You know, another thing that I from the other interview and in real time, they were talking about, they were getting DNA from some of the family members, and of course you want to try and rule it out because, you know, they're looking for forensic evidence. Now that I see this light in the mouth, and now that law enforcement, because it's probably a squeeze type light where you push it with your thumb and the light turns on, an LED light, and obviously he was making the light turn on by biting it, which means it was in his mouth. And if it was in his mouth, there's saliva, and if there's saliva, there's DNA. If he left that squeeze light in the house, and these are the kind of clues that you don't know are a clue until you see something like this. So normally if they're looking through the house for evidence and they see a little flashlight on the countertop, they may have thought it belonged to the 84-year-old victim. But now that they see that this guy was using a squeeze light in his mouth, now it becomes a clue. And now they know to swab that for DNA and compare that to the list of suspects.
So this is just open the possibilities of possible evidence. And I remember my question. Why are they calling this man a subject instead of a suspect?
Because they, at this point, you know, and in today's society, because there was even hesitancy to call him a man. It may not be a man. It could be a woman. Based upon what I'm seeing, I say that this is a male, possibly Hispanic. But they are hesitant to say it's a man. They're hesitant to say that this is the perpetrator, even though you pretty much know it's the perpetrator. Maybe they're trying to be politically correct. Maybe they don't want to rule out the fact that this could very well be a woman in disguise. You know, anything is possible.
And then where is the probability at this point that maybe we can find Nancy? Or they can find Nancy, I shouldn't say we. But let me ask it again. At this point, what's the probability that I keep saying we. What is the probability at this point that they finally find Nancy?
I'm going to be brutally honest. This many days in, and in my personal experience, I think the chances of her being found alive are not good. They're actually very low. If they are able to identify the perpetrator, I believe that they will be able to locate where she is, but I do not believe that she will be recovered alive at this point.
And also, you were talking to me over the phone, the lack of ransom communication, or the lack of communication in general with the family, that raised red flags for you too,
Absolutely.
Right?
This goes completely contrary to the kidnapping playbook, 101. When there is a kidnapping, the objective of the kidnapper is to obtain the victim and then make the ransom demand and then ratchet up the pressure. They set the terms. They tell you, this is the day that I want the ransom, this is exactly how much I want, and this is how you're going to deliver it to me. The family of the victim is not begging the kidnapper, please call us and let us know how much you want so we can pay you. The kidnapper is the one that's in control. The kidnapper is the one that maintains the pressure, and they ratchet up the pressure constantly by instilling fear in the families to make sure that, number one, the family doesn't contact law enforcement, and number two, that the family pays. Okay? None of that was happening in this case. I personally believe that every single one of the ransom demands has been fraudulent. I think they're from people trying to take advantage of the family that is absolutely desperate in the worst time of their life, and they're trying to capitalize on that, which is another reason why I believe they requested Bitcoin, because Bitcoin can be requested and transferred anywhere in the world to anyone in the world that has a Bitcoin account or Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
And that opens the field to every criminal on earth.
And this is such a high profile case as well.
Absolutely.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to say on this? I mean, I know we deep dived a lot. You know, your analysis on the video is so enlightening, because at face value, we just see a man, you know, and he's on her doorstep. But looking at all of these little clues, I mean, the FBI has a lot here.
They have a tremendous amount. To us, it's 45 seconds of chilling video, but to law enforcement, this is absolute gold. It removes a lot of doubt. It removes a lot of speculation. It may even eliminate certain people that they may have had as suspects. It may, eliminate them as a suspect, or it may put suspicion on someone else that they were not considering to be a suspect and now they are. But every single thing in this video provides clues to law enforcement. The way the person walks, the way the person, the space of his steps, how far his steps are between every step, his build. I mean, just all kinds of things are coming from this video, and I can guarantee you, this is, a tremendous development in the case, and it's going to put absolute extreme pressure on this man now, because now he went from being the victimizer to being the hunted, and now he's hunted, and now the tables are turned, and everybody's going to be looking for this man.